Content warning. Sensual accessories, and language ahead.
Hi, you are listening to HeartBreaker, a short story written by myself, David Halen. Enjoy. The night was old, and the morning was young, and this is too poetic of a way to talk about promiscuous bullshit. It was drawing close to 2 in the morning. I had just put my clothes back on after a late night of hollow sensations. At this point, my mind abhors this shit, and my spirit wants this to stop. But something within my heart wants to keep doing this, which is why I need to fix my heart. My head hurt and was looping some of the images from the night. I wanted it to stop, but if I truly wanted it to stop, why did I do this bullshit again? A part of me felt raw in a way it shouldn't. My eyes felt like they were bleeding. They may as well be from the precious, sacred ritual that had been demeaned and disgraced over and over again. It wasn't that I saw so much fucking tonight, but still the fact that the idea of something so pure was dashed and smeared with such disrespect and violence. It hurts. Everywhere. It hurts. Everywhere. I tried to fall asleep peacefully, but the war between my hopeful tranquility and the violent images of nude ingenues sitting pretty was keeping me awake. Think of anything else. I think about a movie, but then the movie turns into the violent display of flashing and flaunting that I had filled myself with. I think about memories, time spent with friends, car rides, just walking. But then I think about someone that I had seen on the street, or worse, someone from high school some time ago. I never knew these people, but the images of their forcefully exposed body in my mind isn't something that I want to think about. I then think that I can just keep my eyes open, but I had engraved myself so badly that these women are in my vision, up against the wall, on the floor, stroking each other, kissing each other. Fucking gross. I hate that I let these images in. I sighed as I got out of bed to pick up my phone, get on certain Instagram pages that I have deemed mind bleach, numerous pictures and videos that should get my mind off of all that perverted bullshit long enough that I can go to sleep. My eyes felt like they were glazed and drying glue as I looked at multiple images of simply intriguing things. People doing parkour, short animations that loop perfectly, and other things like this. These distractions are good, and it somehow makes me forget about everything as I put the phone back down on my nightstand and laid my head back down to sleep. There was still an amount of guilt in my soul as I said under my breath, God forgive me for this adulterous activity. I felt empty. Nothing good. Nothing bad. Just empty. A festering hollow in my heart as I laid on my bed in silence. The silence felt so loud, like a buzzing noise droning in my ears that rattled my head. And the fact that I wasn't trying to concentrate on anything made the buzzing silence more and more invasive to me. The emptiness birthed an anger within me. I was pissed at myself. The voice in my mind shouted and yelled at me as I was trying to sleep. Why the hell did you do this again? Why did you go out and jerk off looking at those lewd images and videos? My head hurt. Don't you know that if that's what they show off, that's all they care about, and you're just feeding their yearn for attention? I eventually dozed off as I yelled at myself in my head. There was a large field, a bold green as far as the eye could see. There was a stone fence cutting through the middle of the field. The stone wall wasn't any taller than 4 feet. You could climb over the wall easily. I was walking on top of the stone wall. Sitting on top of the stone wall was an imp-like creature. It was red, with short little horns poking backwards from above its ears. It had wings that were half a size larger than the entirety of the figure, and looking head-on, the wings looked like a broken heart. There was a chain anklet with a bolt attached to it on its side, and there was a crescent-shaped horn protruding almost its whole lanky length from the center of its pelvic region. If you were to look up demon on Google Images, this is about what you would see. The imp creature looked up at me. "Are you enjoying your stroll?" Its voice had an uncomfortable tone to it, almost as if the weight of the horn was impeding on its diaphragm to make it hard for it to speak. I shook my head. No. The imp's yellow eyes looked up at me inquisitively, like curiosity, but knowing the outcome already. I was annoyed at the imp's presence. I said no. The imp stood up to face me, and I had to back up so its horn wouldn't hit me in any way. "Strange," it said, almost in pain. "But you keep on walking down this path." It smiled, and it bared its nasty red teeth. "It has to be a familiar path to walk for you." I glowered at the imp. "Get out of my way," I told it sternly. The imp's face was divided by the horn, but symmetry played a daunting aesthetic for the imp. "Who are you to tell me what to do?" I stared in pissed silence. The imp pulled a piece of paper from out of its ass and presented it to show me, but I didn't look at it. "Your actions signed the document for you." The imp turned the paper to where it could read it. "Let's see what it says." "Why?" I asked. The imp ignored me. "It says here, 'To whom it may concern, should you take the time to exercise and build up the mentality that the eager and excitable incubus enjoys, then your name is already signed on the bottom line in white paste. Please be sure to, as often as you can, partake of the different facets and pleasures that your eyes can devour so incubus can be satisfied. After all, you are his only source." I tried to interrupt. "Stop," the imp kept reading. "If you stop this engagement at any time, incubus will keep coming to suggest that you participate again, as such rush and emotion was felt as you practiced these wonderful actions. You and incubus could live together forever with a simple exchange." The imp finished reading. "And your name is written below, see?" I stared at the imp with contempt. "I don't want this anymore." The imp shook its head. "Oh no, that's too bad." The imp's voice had a tone of a salesman to it. "You must stay true to your agreements," the imp explained. "After all, your name is still on the document." I shook my head. "I don't want this anymore." The imp chuckled a second. "Ha ha ha! Allow me to show you something to change your mind." "No." Then suddenly there was a young woman in front of the imp. She had a thong on and was covering her breasts with one arm as she had the index finger of her other hand in her mouth. "Isn't she a stunner?" the imp asked me. I sternly said, "No, I don't want this." As I said that, the woman flickered to another image, for not even a blink of an eye, but then returned to the way she was before. "Oh," the imp said, "she can show you more if that will change your mind." And again I sternly said, "No." "Go on, show him," the imp told the woman. I didn't even see her move her arm before I turned to avert my eyes. The imp chuckled. "Boy, her eyes are over here." I tried to walk away on the wall, but I felt like I was being pulled back away from where I was walking to. I sternly said again, "No, I don't want any of this." A hand grabbed my shoulder and turned me around. It wasn't the imp, and the woman wasn't there anymore. Instead, a woman with pointed ears and black, bat-like wings held my shoulder in firm grip as she stared at me with a toothy grin that had dominant canines. There was a strange kind of glaze over her that had a strange aroma to it. "This is everything," the winged woman said with expectation in her voice. "And I don't want it," I said as I looked to the other side of the wall that I was on top of. On one side of the wall, in the distance, was a man enveloped in a bright white, and on the other side of the wall was the same sight. The winged woman turned my head back to face her. I tried to look everywhere but at her. I looked behind her, and the imp creature wasn't standing there anymore. "Come on, baby," the winged woman said as she pulled me closer to her. I resisted as hard as I could. I wanted to jump off the wall into one of the fields. But which glowing figure do I run to? The woman put her other hand on my side and slowly moved it down to my butt. "Why don't you want me?" she asked. "I can be exactly what you want me to be." I pushed her away, and the strange glaze made my hand slip on her skin. I decided I didn't want to be on the wall anymore. I have no regard for any of this. The winged woman, the topless woman, none of it. I knew that I had to pick a side, but which side do I want to jump to? I picked a side, and the winged woman screamed, "No!" as I landed on the ground, and ran as fast as my legs could take me. I ran towards the glowing man, and the glowing man ran towards me. And there was something within myself that let me know that this was right. There were certain yearnings and longings within me that were telling me to look back at the wall. Everything else was telling me to keep my head forward. The glowing man and I reached each other, and I knew instantly who he was. "Help me," I said to the man. "Help me out of that lifestyle." We separated, but he kept his hands on my shoulders. "First," he said, "I don't own the wall. The adversary does." I felt my heart sink after hearing that. And out of the heart sink, I asked him, "How do I keep myself from going back to that old way of life?" Jesus said, as matter-of-fact life, "You spend time in my field. You eat the food of my field. You exercise the practices that we partake whilst in my field." I was dumbfounded by Jesus' explanation. Is that it?" Jesus had a smile on his face. I cried. I couldn't comprehend just how Jesus can smile at me so sweetly, so genuinely, so wholesomely. "Yes," Jesus then said. I shook my head in amazement. "How?" My lip was quivering. After everything I had willingly done? I asked. After saying that I'll change, but I turn right back around. After returning to my own vomit. After knowing that King Solomon wrote about having all the sex in the world, but he called it useless. I stumbled on my words before I asked, how can you forgive another traitor like me? Jesus still smiled, and I couldn't handle the overwhelming peace that came with his smile. Because that is one thing I sacrificed my life for, Jesus said before continuing, so that even after what you have spoken about, you are now blameless. I could feel a surge of thoughts rushing through my head. How am I blameless? Because you are forgiven, Jesus answered. Now go and sin no more. Thank you for listening to my short story, HeartBreaker. I hope you enjoyed. See you next week.